welcome to the Rudick Report. It's Thursday, December 22nd, 2022. I wanted to bring to your attention the latest assault on the American people. And I'm talking about this latest article coming out of Breitbart, where Congress releases a $1.7 trillion, 4,000-page omnibus bill. Of course, they dropped this at 1:30 a.m. on Tuesday, giving lawmakers just a few days to read it before the government shuts down on Friday. You know, they always toss around the fear tactics, saying, oh, the government's going to shut down. We need to take action. But honestly, the government should shut down. They need to get their priorities straight. When the normal citizen is in trouble, they just can't take on billions of dollars of debt and trillions of dollars in debt. You know, they have to tighten their belt and take some action and do the hard choices to, make their lives a little easier. But our government is just recklessly spending money because they have the ability right now just to print their way out of circumstances, all the while increasing the debt to massive numbers, increasing our balance sheet of debt like to numbers we've never seen before, the trillions of dollars. So people need to start thinking about what's going on here and start taking it seriously and start preparing for the economic SHTF that's incoming. People always say, why should I worry? Nothing's ever happened yet. The people are tired of hearing that the economy is going to crash, that we'll suffer consequences for years to come. And I get emails all the time from people saying, oh, you've been saying this for years, but nothing's happened. We've been listening to you for a while. And of course, these are the same people that don't see that we're experiencing a slow motion train wreck. First, to those mockers, much has happened. If we look back in 2008, it was the most severe financial crisis since the Great Depression, and millions of people were financially wrecked during that time and still are dealing with it today. And secondly, the worldwide economy has deteriorated significantly since then, with most countries and economies in the toilet with skyrocketing inflation and soaring debt. But still, with all the signs out there and the undeniable proof, it appears people prefer to keep their heads in the sand. According to the Global Debt Monitor, the global debt as of Q1 2022 was $305 trillion. Notwithstanding the possibility of underestimation, that's more than 350% of global GDP. So in layman's terms, we are spending a whole lot more than we're taking in. Would that type of responsibility work in anybody else's house? No, it wouldn't. So if you add to that nightmare the fact that last year the Federal Reserve printed 40% of all USD currently in circulation, you can see that we're in big trouble. But how come nothing's happened yet, people ask me? Where's your collapse? To them, I say, when it does unhinge, it's going to be a massive shock. Very few are aware, and even fewer are preparing for what will likely be the worst economic downturn in history, except this time the contagion will be worldwide. There is always something governments and institutions can do to kick the can down the road, and in fact, since 2008, probably even before that, governments have done precisely that in hyperdrive. Governments around the world have been pumping billions and billions into their economies, purchasing their own debt. These efforts have slowed down the crash, but it won't stop it. Currently, we're living in borrowed time, but eventually everything will reach a tipping point, and bam, there it goes. That's why I feel it's important to prepare for this eventuality. People should have a prepper mindset. Being a prepper is just preparing and having a contingency plan for issues that may arise. It's no different than driving with a spare tire in your car. In that case, you're just preparing for a flat tire. If it never happens, great. But if it does, you know that you have a spare and you can weather the incident. Think about it. If someone told you in 2019 that the entire world would be under lockdown for months because of a virus, how would you have reacted? If I told you that people would be staying in their homes, you'd be required to get a special pinprick. Some people would lose their jobs. Some people would be fighting for their jobs. They would be fighting for religious exemptions. That people would be masking up. Would you have believed any of it? Probably not. When I say bad days are coming, that doesn't mean that I'm living in a bunker somewhere with a gas mask with tons of canned food. Life will continue and we will survive. It means being able to weather the financial storm and keep your family above water during that downturn. Don't stick your head in the sand And please don't ignore the countless warnings that you have heard up till now. Instead, heed them. Be early to take action and be prepared. With all the warning signs flashing red, the choice should be quite obvious now what's happening. So what should you do? How should you prepare for the SHTF? When people realize the size and extent of the fraud, that their wealth savings, pensions, and rights are in danger or in some cases gone, then they'll react. It remains to be seen how severe the crash will be, but it may force the governments to crack down even harder to contain populations when the revolt begins. Look at Venezuela, look at other countries around the world and Brazil. People are revolting, people have had enough. And if these revolts happen in the United States, and I hope it doesn't, we may have to move to martial law. They may be moving into capital controls. Those capital control measures could be taxes, outright prohibition, restrictions, limiting purchases of foreign assets or having limitations on foreign countries purchasing our assets. It's ridiculous. And I know you may think it's a gloomy outlook, but if you look into our history, you'll see there are many examples to choose from. It's time to be alert and to take action. Don't wait until something happens to start researching and learning how to live in a world with an economy entirely different from the one we've had for the last 20 or 30 years. If you wait that long, then you'll be behind the eight ball, and at that point it would be too late to do anything except for reaction, taking actions with the herd. I know it sounds like very basic advice, but even a few simple changes can make a huge difference. It's time to stop living in excess with runaway spending. It's time to stop having more month than paycheck. It's time to live a simpler life where crushing debt does not leave you hopeless. We are chained to their rat race of earn, spend hamster wheel, where in most cases people spend way more than they earn. It's important to understand that economic crises can last a lot longer than other isolated incidents. Natural man-made disasters can have a much quicker resolution, so it's easy to prepare for them in many ways. Putting away a few extra items and other preparations are good for these situations and can ease the blow of the situation at hand. Look at Venezuela. Some citizens who had food stocked away for a year or two, that helped them go through the early phase of the economic downturn. But the ordeal has been going on for 20 years, and it hasn't ended. You need to start thinking long term. Gear and food stockpiles matter more in the short term. They provide comfort, safety, and confidence as a way to soften the blow in the short term. But mid and long term, especially in the lasting economic downturn, require a totally different mentality. You need to start thinking of SHTF preparation in other ways. Life moves forward, and it's perfectly fine to keep enjoying your current lifestyle, continue consuming and using products and services that are available that you can afford to buy. But when the economy crashes, get ready for a downgrade. Use the time now to research, test, and use alternative, maybe even lesser brands and other options that you don't normally use. And check how these lifestyle adjustments affect you and your family. Doing this before the crash can ease the transition practically and psychologically and save a lot of work in cases of shortages, price hikes, or a reduction in a variety of availability of products. If you want a good example of what limits and restrictions can have on a society, look at the countless examples of the mental and psychological illnesses that stem from the lockdowns and how things have not and will not ever go back to normal or what people perceive as normal before CV hit. So here's a practical tip. Refurbishing, reusing, repurposing, recycling, and repairing were common ways to save money in days past. Installing or repairing stuff around the house or car leaves more to be used for other goods and necessities or to be saved instead or invested even. Income can be generated as well by learning to do repairs. You can learn to do your own repairs from watching YouTube videos or even create your own YouTube channel showing people how to repurpose items or repair things and generate your own income. The point is, simple tools are very cheap, and it's a good idea to have a set around to do your own repairs. It will save you a boatload of money. You also have to start thinking about in terms of purchasing power instead of affordability when facing an economic SHTF scenario. Think of the many ways that an economic SHTF can directly or indirectly affect you and your family. Consider the implications of your job, your career, your savings, your mortgages, your investments, pensions, income, healthcare, you name it. Also, think about practical changes in everyday routines. How will transportation, environment, safety, shopping, or other routines and necessities be affected, both by the changes in the economy, the society, the politics, and in your own community? Establish plans for short, mid, and long term. Everyone has been waiting for a massive, quick crash, but be aware that this type of crash has not happened suddenly. It's a slow motion train wreck. There can be ups and downs of various magnitudes, but things usually occur in a stair-step cycling through booms and busts as they're happening right now. And it's all ride to the bottom, right? We see the stock market now up 1,000 points, then it's down 1,000 for a couple of days, then it goes up a little bit and down further. It's this ebb and flow, this up and down. And it's happening right now. And those who can see it know that it's time to take action while action can be taken. So keep extra cash on hand to deal with, bank closures, frozen accounts, maybe confiscations, or even social unrest where you can't get out. Midterm can include shortages, disruptions, blackouts, and failure in public services and utilities. And long-term, everything above is infused with stagnant or declining economic growth and everything that comes with it. Just realize that these things are taking place. There's no reason to worry or stress over it. Face it head on and make a decision that will help you and your family. Stay agile, being ready to pivot when necessary as things evolve, and keep improving. And above all, learn to roll with the punches and adapt. Learn to decide fast and act swiftly. It doesn't take special skills or gear, just some observation and some small little actions. We're all currently living with inflation, and inflation is simply a very punishing taxation that the government puts on you. And when inflation gets high enough, it can take its toll on society like it's doing now. So we can expect a lowering in infrastructure investment and maintenance, a worsening or failure of public services and necessities, a general reduction in quality on everything, public and private. And of course, all the social volatility that we know can occur. Today's generation has no clue what it's like living with restrictions, extreme market volatility, poor availability of products and services, and the possibility of personal investments being negative for years to come. And those who refuse to look at these possibilities or refuse to take steps to prepare, thinking everything will be fine, are the ones who will suffer the most. The people always pay the biggest price and make the most sacrifice, not the fat cats on Wall Street or the government official blowhards. They just get richer and richer. And while these events are not pleasant to go through, those who prepare and are ready could in fact be looking at great opportunities to benefit from it. Those who are putting money away, saving money for a rainy day, we may see the real estate market crash significantly, where you can get deals 60-80% off. You can come in there and get yourself a home for a fraction of the price you would have, or several. And you could sell those homes later when the market turns around. So whatever your current situation is, take the steps now to learn about the economy and how you can best prepare financially for when the fiat collapses, because it's going to collapse. In all cases, fiat has collapsed, and the only remaining assets that have ever held their value has been gold and silver. Learn about it yourself and be smart. Even purchases in small amounts can make a huge difference. This is not financial advice and should be not taken as such, but it's just my opinion. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Rudick Report.